Thank you very much, Mr. Sheridan. Mr. Downing, on June 7th, the Department of Justice announced that it seized $2.3 million in cryptocurrency paid to the hackers behind the May ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline. The criminal syndicate named DarkSide demanded a ransom in bitcoins, and Colonial Pipeline paid it. According to the DOJ press release, law enforcement was able to review the Bitcoin public ledger, track transfers of Bitcoin, and identify $2.3 million in proceeds from these ransom payments. It seems, for lack of a better reference, that cryptocurrency and Bitcoins are the coin of the realm when it comes to this ransomware. What can we do? What specific laws should we enact in the United States to be responsive to this and diminish the role of cryptocurrency?
Thank you very much for the question. I agree completely that the cryptocurrency has unfortunately fueled this rise of crime. It has two key aspects to it. It's often anonymous, and it is non-reversible. That is, once it's passed to the criminals, it's very difficult to claw it back. We do not have a current proposal to enhance our authority to track or to interdict these kinds of things, but it's something that's very much under consideration. We definitely see this as an increased problem and look to the laws that we already have on the books, like the Bank Secrecy Act, to enforce the rules and regulations that are already applying to cryptocurrency exchanges and other actors in this space.
That's exactly the point. We enacted laws so that the transfer of certain amounts really required disclosures to the government so we could monitor those. It's not a perfect system by any means, but it would seem that the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency need to be subject to some sort of review, surveillance, or regulation as well. Let me ask you another question to the panel, and maybe someone else would like to take it on. There was an article on June 7th in the New Yorker entitled "The Go-Between" by Rachel Monroe. It talked about the similarities between kidnapping and ransomware. And she wrote that about 3/4 of Fortune 500 companies eventually invested in kidnap and ransom insurance. There was some discomfort in the industry that they were funneling money to the mafia, terrorist groups, and criminal gangs, but by establishing some sort of a method to this madness, they were able to recover 97% of the kidnap victims without harm. Now, several countries went an extra step, particularly Italy, Colombia, and the United Kingdom banned kidnap and ransom insurance. And the argument was made in this article that really had a negative impact. Countries that banned kidnap insurance drove negotiations underground. Now we're dealing in a world of cyber insurance, and those who are trying to buy some protection through the insurance mechanism for their vulnerability. Is there any value to looking at the kidnapping experience and banning that insurance and deciding whether that has any beneficial aspects to it?
Sir, I can start the conversation on that question. When we go back several years, it's at least our belief and understanding from public records that the insurance industry really started within cyber so that we could drive better cyber hygiene. And, I think the question that we should all be asking ourselves is that what has actually happened? Has the implementation of cybersecurity insurance driven better cyber hygiene? And so from our perspective with dealing with target entities or victims, when we talk with them, the insurance availability is a big piece of their decision calculus about whether they do or don't pay. And my opinion would be that within the interagency, there's ongoing conversations about the value or lack thereof of insurance, and I think it's probably a conversation that should be had within this committee as well.
Well, it certainly is an important one, and I suppose I can argue both sides. I'm glad to see you're making a review of it at this point. It seems to me it facilitates the payment in these circumstances, and it may set up the mechanism that they refer to with kidnap insurance. I don't know. What is your impression? Are there special negotiators in this ransomware world that try to diminish the amounts that are being paid with any effect?
There are special negotiators in this space for private sector companies that take on the negotiations with the cyber adversaries that are overseas. And from our conversations with people making decisions in companies about whether to pay or not to pay, we can assure you that the insurance availability or lack thereof becomes a relevant component of their decision-making.
Thank you. Senator Grassley?